welcome to another episode of Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game. Let's meet the panel.
Ari.
Jesi. I'm Tori.
And I'm Josh. Ari, welcome back to the panel.
Thank you.
It's always great to have you on here. You always say insightful things, or at least most of the time you do.
Yeah, sometimes.
Alrighty, today we are going to be going over a short story by Chopin. We've gone over The Awakening in the Storm, and now we are going over Ripe Figs. Alrighty, Tori, you got a discussion starter for this one?
Okay, I will definitely say this. It is a very short story.
Yeah, that much is true.
So it's a very quick story, and at first blush was very kind of... I was reading it, and then it was done. I think I asked this question previously, but what do you think it's about? Because I think I know what it's about. I'm curious to know what you guys, and Ari, you said that you think you uncracked the code.
Yeah.
So how about you divulge to the group what you think it's about?
So what I think this is about, looking specifically at one of the later lines, which is, said Mama Nene, arching her eyebrows, how early the figs have ripened this year. And Babette says, oh, I think they have ripened very late. I think that what this is saying is that as you progress in life, when you're young and you're spry and you're a little bit more impatient, you always want to wait for things to happen and have things come to you, and so you always think that everything is like late and happens later. But when things have been happening all your life, and you're like the mammon, or whatever you pronounce it, the things just feel like they're going their normal speed. So when you have someone like Mammon, who's been around for a very long period of time, for this, when the figs grew, it was early for her because that actually felt like it was earlier than other experiences that she's had. But
It's perspective-based.
It's perspective-based.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah.
I think it is the perspectives on time where where kids are much more impatient.
Yeah, that's definitely a large part.
And
of it.
how they're waiting. They're
They're
waiting.
excited. They're excited. They're anxious.
They want to get on with their lives, but once you have gotten on with your life enough, things become routine and it becomes the same old thing.
I can give you like small examples. Like I remember my first summer at camp was only 4 weeks, but it felt like forever because like I was really excited. Wanted to know what the next day was going to bring, and I wanted to see what happened. Once I got to my 7th year at camp, it basically everything kind of like slowed down, and I was able to enjoy things as they came up to me.
Mm-hmm.
You knew what to expect, and in that not complacency, but in the understanding of what routine will bring, you're able to enjoy life a little bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely time and perspective is a large portion of this.
Basically, it's like living life to the fullest, but there are different ways to live life to the fullest.
I would say that I found that being the case with my school years. If I felt that a school year was difficult in its arrangement, it felt like September lasted forever. If I was doing things that I enjoyed, which that seemed to be just about my entire high school, it seemed like time flowed very eloquently, to put it poetically.
And then the last line go ahead.
But it didn't go by fast, quick speed, but at the same time I wasn't dodging.
You weren't looking at the clock.
No, I wasn't looking at the clock. But
What's about number one?
another point that I wanted to make is I really thought it was an interesting point. I was looking at the site, Chopin's site, that this may have been targeted for young readers.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
It's short.
it's short. I could definitely see this as in a children's picture book. But and don't forget, this is the late 19th century too.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to.
It's going to look different than children's works at this day and age.
Yeah, it is going to look.
Well, this is what something that I'll say. Like I said, the first time that I read it, I was like, "This is it." Like I've read other stuff from her before, so it was kind of almost jarring at how suddenly it stopped, because it was this tiny little snapshot of one summer. So I think on one hand, it's a piece that is meant to be kind of just read it how it is. There's really you could take it at face value. It's a tiny little snippet of this tiny little vignette, that's the word I'm looking for. It's a vignette of a life of two random people. Which in and of itself is perfectly pleasant. You can take these simple things at face value, and sometimes in life it's good to have those tiny little moments. So
And I know I haven't been saying much because, as I said before, I
feel like what did you think about it? Because you've been
because
quiet.
I feel like the if I wasn't looking for a point, I did like it. I feel like the imagery was really nice. How she described who was it, Babette dancing through the fig trees and everything, and that sound like it was sweet. I can picture myself reading it on a summer day and just like very nice. But because I was looking for a point in the story, I'm like, am I missing something? Like I didn't quite, and I mean obviously you guys got it faster than I did because I was like time.
Oh,
no, it took me like
the only way that,
I'm like, what?
I think the only thing that would throw you off about this being targeted toward children is the words that they use.
Oh,
Yeah.
The words are very
They're very
outdated.
Although I would
Words
say a lot of the words that are complicated are proper nouns. Like the names
the
and
mom and
chrysanthemums is a type of flower.
She uses
I
a
believe,
lot of Cajun names because she's
Well,
from
that's
that
what I was
area.
just going to say. Is it's regional,
Yeah.
and I think for it's a time period appropriate. So, like, if we were to give it to a young child or a young adult today, they'd probably have to scratch their heads at certain things. Because I can tell you, chrysanthemum. I've seen chrysanthemum. I've seen it spelled out on paper. I've heard it. Like I know it. I still can't spell it.
Yeah, I know.
But
There
on
was
the
a
same
children's book about a character named
it's the old
Chrysanthemum.
anti-establishmentarianism.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think I can totally see. I wouldn't say I'd give this to a kid to read. Not that I'd say it's not for children to read, but like it's not something that I think it's just a piece of prose. Like it's
I'm going to
part
throw
of
a reference in here, and I'm going to say I would think that this story, not disregarding the lengths of both works, I would say this story would be for the same exact age group of the Phantom Tollbooth. Because in the Phantom Tollbooth you have a lot of complicated stuff, complicated words.
Here's the thing. This is not complicated. And I think that's what threw me for the biggest loop is because we've been reading some stuff that has layers for you to be able to unpack, for you to be able to delve in and try to figure out what it means. And that was the biggest,
Mm-hmm.
I have to agree because it was
it's
so
done-
complicated.
like,
yeah,
exactly. It was
so,
very
and
simple.
that's what I felt because we just read Soda Politics,
Exactly.
Road to Wigan Pier. We just read
Shakespeare.
yeah, so it's
Very-
like here
very
I was
in-depth,
expecting
complicated
something,
stuff.
and I'm looking for a point, and it's not there, and I'm like.
And I think that's what I like about this piece the most is the fact that it's so simple. It is so succinct. It's a story about a young girl who is excited about going to see her family and summertime and that wistful yearning for time to pass. And then you have the duality of the perspective of the other family member who has had those summers pass.
And like you said, if you take it at face value and you don't try to look for a point, it is great. And like I said, I can totally
really good.
picture
It's great because it
listening
is
to it or
simple.
reading it like outside at a park, and it's like, it's so nice, and it's so not complicated, and that is what's nice about it.
Yeah, and it's
I
kind
think
of,
once you major in English, that those kind of feelings blown out the window.
Yeah,
It's fun because
I didn't major in English.
we go through daily things trying to find meaning in what's around us, and I think that's the biggest aha moment for me. Wasn't the time, it was through the conversation of us talking about it. It was kind of like, yeah, I knew that was kind of what it was about. Was the fact that it was just sit back and just let it happen. Like you don't have to analytically think about this piece.
Absolutely
It was just
not, yeah.
a wonderfully written piece that was very pretty and very face value.
I believe this is one of the very rare types of works out there where anybody can read it, but everyone will think of it differently, and everyone's going to view
And I
it.
think
Yeah, I would
that's
say
what
that
makes it so much fun. Is it's so simple for you to be able to put whatever spin you want.
I do want to mention something about the last line here. Babette said, Mammon, as she peeled the very plumpest figs with her pointed silver fruit knife, You will carry my love to them all down on Bayou Beouf, and tell your Tanta Frosine that I will look for her at Tucson when the chrysanthemums or
Chrysanthemums. There you go.
I'm not into floral stuff at all.
There's some fancy French words in there.
But that whole line, I think it takes the time thing to another level, because it says, like, when those flowers are in bloom, it's almost as if, like, Mama knows that Babette is going to have something new in her life.
Yeah, way back when, Google Calendar didn't exist, you set the clock by certain, annual things that happened.
Originally it was the sun.
Sundials, yeah.
The sun, but I mean, like, there are certain things that you knew inherently were going to happen. Certain flowers were blooming, different animals.
The seasons changed.
Exactly.
That's how Shabbat in Judaism was measured. It's measured based off of sundowns because
we follow the lunar calendar instead of the solar calendar, and so a day for us starts in the evening. Basically, a day for us is, on average, it's like 6 p.m. to like 7 p.m. the next day, next evening. So.
Alrighty then. You have any final thoughts?
This is like I said, this is a very different people are going to have different views, different analysis. Some might not even have any analysis and just enjoy it for face value, like Jesi and Tori were saying. I really did like this. I think that it's just the right length, just the right amount of stuff to be able to pull it off a certain point that makes it very interesting. So.
I would definitely say that it would be perfect in the picture book form.
And if it was picture book, I think making the words a little bit clearer. But yeah, I do agree with you.
I think it's regional. It's like if I was to talk about something, or at like Taylor Ham versus like.
That's the way she wrote.
Like, so it's
storm.
very casual. It's very familial, and I think that's another part that I really, really liked about it was that she uses those names in a very familial way, so it gives that feeling of familiarity.
She did it with the storm as well, and the storm's prequel as well.
I can imagine this type of story being in like a pocket edition of Kate Chopin. Like, where it's like, or not just Chopin, but all kinds of poems. Like, I don't know, maybe Ogden Nash is
It's a
another
very
example.
good, like, snapshot of, like, it's quintessentially Kate Chopin.
Absolutely.
And it does it very well.
And it definitely be in a complete collection, too. Alrighty then, I will leave links down below to this story and wherever else you would need in order to understand it a bit more, including the katechopin.org, which I made the mention to the fact that there's a good chance that this was a children's
there.
piece.
Kate Chopin has a bunch of good stuff, just in general.
Alrighty, be sure to join us next time for another episode of Literary Gladiators. For now, keep reading.